Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Monday. We are back from the weekend. Your reward through slogging through this Monday on the calendar. It's 3 hours of 580 Sports Talk today here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com and in living color on our streaming video channels. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. However, whenever, wherever you're hearing the show today, thanks so much for being a part of the audience here on 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in a bit. Brendan Dworzynski is off today, continuing to train for our arm wrestling match on Wednesday's edition of 580 Sports Talk. So it is just me for this first little bit here. Again, my name is Dan Lucero. Delighted to be with you. Not on a Victory Monday. Where did my Victory Mondays go? We used to have a lot of Victory Mondays on this show. Now we have no Victory Mondays. We haven't had a Victory Monday yet. The Chiefs are 0-2. K-State's in the sewer. The Royals are dead. Even if the math doesn't say they're dead, we know what a dead team walking looks like, and that's the Royals right now. Not a real fun weekend. Once again, it must be said. Not a real fun weekend of football. Not a real fun weekend of sports. But we're going to talk about it all. We're going to make sense of it all here today on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. So really glad you're here to talk through it with me. We will break down the Chiefs' loss in the Super Bowl rematch to the Philadelphia Eagles, 20-17. It isn't all bad, but there's not a lot good about being 0-2. It gets a lot harder to get to where you want to go when you start from 0-2. And that is where the Chiefs find themselves. Are there some issues that are fixable? Are there some issues from week one that appeared to fix themselves in week two? Yeah, I think the answer to both of those questions is probably yes. Has it been good enough? Has it been to a championship standard? The record in that regard does not lie. We will break it down tip to tail on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. The Chiefs 20-17 loss at Arrowhead Stadium yesterday afternoon. Our NFL insider, Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated and SI.com will join us bottom of this hour. He'll help us make a little more sense out of what we saw yesterday and also the rest of the NFL Week 2 action worth digging into. With Matt, he's our guest today, bottom of this hour. So lots of Chiefs stuff to get to. The stuff that's working, the stuff that's not. How realistic is it to say the stuff that's not can be fixed? The one thing I really didn't like about the way that game ended, and it's bothering me more and more the more I think about it, because I think it's indicative of something that is potentially poisonous for this football team. That fourth down play call in the second half, what the hell was that? The tush push. If the guy who's the Fox NFL officiating expert and who used to run the officiating department in the NFL says he's done with the tush push, how long before the league's officials all say we would like to be done with this? It's a legal play for now, so you got to stop it, but more tush push controversy coming out of yesterday's game, to say the least. We can get into that a little bit. All your thoughts, of course, as well in the YouTube comments. If you are watching on the YouTube, the live chat, 580 Sports Talk is the name of the YouTube channel. Go subscribe to that YouTube channel. You're not going to want to miss that arm wrestling match between myself and Brendan Dworzynski on Wednesday's edition of the show. We're going to do it in the 4 o'clock hour. Brendan and I, the arm wrestling brawl for it all. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Hop into the live chat to see Mark and Paul, Andrew, Tyler in on the program today. Appreciate you guys already checking in. Looking forward to hearing from some more of you in the YouTube chat. If you just like to text the show, you can do that too. The text line is wide open, 785-272-9429. So yes, we will be Chiefs and NFL centric on this Monday, but we will make time for K-State losing at Arizona on Friday night, a season that appears to be dead as a doornail, a third of the way into it for the Kansas State Wildcats, and it is where it is because the offense is completely and totally unsalvageable. And I have sat behind this microphone and told you I don't fire coaches, so it's not my voice that you're going to hear saying, fire this guy or fire that guy. But there is a time when it becomes very obvious when you cannot continue forward with the status quo. And it's obvious to everybody when you get there. For instance, in 2021, the Texas game was the point at which it became very clear that Courtney Messingham could not continue as the K-State offensive coordinator. And he didn't. And Friday night was the night it became clear that Matt Wells could not continue forward, at least for not much longer, as the Kansas State offensive coordinator. And everybody could see it. It was as plain as Avery Johnson's reaction to every botched play, every 3 and out, every throw short of the sticks on third down. Something has to change. And I don't know if it's going to change before this season is out, but it became obvious on Friday that the status quo has to change. And it's that obvious. It's that plain. That was a football team that even when they got the ball back, down 6, under 2 minutes to play, you didn't really think they were going to go down score, did you? Not even the most optimistic of K-State fans thought they could go find 6 points, did you? And they didn't. And they feel largely incapable of doing it. And that means something's got to change. Something's got to give. And we've already arrived at that point 4 games in with the Kansas State Wildcats. So we'll get into that and the rest of college football in week number 3. It was a really great college football Saturday, as long as you cared to dig into it. There was a banger of a game in every single time slot. It was really fun, college football Saturday, and we'll get into some of that as well. Plus, our usual Monday shenanigans on the show. 580 Sports Talk headlines. We haven't had to do those in a long time because we were short all last week, but we do have a full 5 o'clock hour today, a full 3 hours to show. So we'll get into some 580 Sports Talk headlines, including a whole mess of injured quarterbacks. I mean, things would be worse for the Chiefs. They could have an injured quarterback. They don't, but a lot of teams do. And we'll also do What Is Wrong With You, new week of that, plus Good, Bad, Ugly from the weekend it was. Your comments, your texts. We want to hear from you on this Defeat Monday on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get into it. Eagles 20, Chiefs 17. For everyone who said during last season that the Chiefs couldn't possibly keep getting away from it or keep getting away with it in close games, so far in 2025, the story is the Chiefs are not getting away with it. Close games of the NFL are won on the margins. I don't know how many times I've said it, but we know it to be true. Close games, and you get a lot of those between two teams that are of fairly equal quality, and the Chiefs have faced 2 teams, 2 rosters, and the Vegas betting lines would suggest as much, that are relatively close to them in terms of quality, in terms of caliber of coaching, in terms of caliber of talent. Certainly, you'd argue that the Eagles have a better 53-man roster than the Chiefs do right now. I don't think there's any argument to the contrary. But it's not like we're not talking about Alabama playing an FCS school here or a group of 6 school here, right? I mean, the margins are not that broad when it comes to the caliber of team. And that's how the NFL works, largely. That's why you don't get a lot of blowouts in this league. So close games are won on the margins. Splash plays, turnovers, how you perform on the money downs, how you perform in special teams. Those 3 or 4, if you want to divide splash plays on offense and turnovers on defense into being their own separate categories, I understand. But those factors are the things that decide close games. And the Chiefs are still lacking in the first department. Not enough splash plays, not enough turnovers created. No turnovers created yesterday. Not good enough in the second department on offense. They're 4 for 12 on third down yesterday. They were better on defense in third down than they were in their opener, but they were a big failure in that department in game 1. That was a big part of the reason why they lost to the Chargers. And special teams, letting the Chiefs down. Missed kicks by Harrison Butker have been game-altering in both games. There was a missed extra point that could have tied the game. Chiefs had to chase points the rest of the night in the opener. Butker misses a 58-yarder that, like, on the one hand, it's silly to treat a 58-yarder as routine, but we got teams playing for 60-plus yard field goals to win or tie games now. So maybe it is. Maybe 55-plus is just you're supposed to make it now. And if you're supposed to make it, Harrison Butker missed it. And that could have given the Chiefs the early lead. Instead, the Eagles took the short field, went down and scored, and took the lead in the game 7-0. And for years, it has been the Chiefs who out-execute their opponents in those facets. And through 2 games this year, they aren't. And they played teams that are good enough to beat them and who have beaten them as a result. That's how you get to 0-2. And I like to try to accentuate the positive when it feels like the sky is falling, or if it feels to a segment of the fan base as though the sky is falling. So I will stop to point out that the defense yesterday for the Chiefs was championship caliber. It was a substantial shift from the first game to the second game, to the point where I am starting to believe in the theory that the travel day from hell genuinely affected how the Chiefs performed early in that game against the Chargers in Brazil. It was a substantial improvement from game 1 to game 2. They were better on early downs. They put in a good shift against Saquon Barkley. Young players showed a little juice. First NFL sack for Norman Lott. Noel Williams looked good playing on the outside, and it looks like he could be a solution there. It may have to be a long-term solution if they can't get Christian Fulton right to allow them to move Trent McDuffie into the slot and put out the best possible version of their secondary. Some encouraging things. Not getting enough pressure with 4 rushers. You're seeing the Chiefs run heavy blitz packages much more often than they typically do, including 14 snaps of cover 0 safety blitz effectively in the first 2 weeks. It's more than like half the league combined. That's sticking with me a little bit. But beyond that, I think that was a defensive performance that put a lot of concerns, maybe not all of them, but a lot of the concerns from week 1 to bed. That was an effort that was good enough to win a lot of football games from the Chiefs. They held the Eagles to just over 200 yards of offense and 3.7 yards per play. They were good on third down. They were good on the early downs, which made it easier to perform well on third downs. I don't have a lot of issues with the defense today. Offensively, though, the Chiefs' passing game presently is non-functional. It doesn't work. And do you know how bad things have to be for a passing game with Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball to be rendered non-functional? You do know how bad things have to be for that to be the case, because it was in front of you on Sunday like it was in front of you on Friday. And this team had better hope that Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy fix everything on offense, because a non-functional passing game and a decrepit running game means you don't have enough juice. And you're just trying to grind games out and win a bunch of 19-17 games like you did all of last season. If that's where the Chiefs find themselves, then that's what we're in for. We're in for another 2024, except maybe this year you don't get the luck of the draw in the close games. And you know what that season looks like? That season looks like, do we get to January? It can't be that again. It can't be. So, and I think the Chiefs went into this season understanding that they couldn't have another year like 2024. And then they lost Rashee Rice for 6 games, and then Xavier Worthy gets hurt 3 offensive plays into the season, and that's what the passing game looks like as a result. And listen, I think Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy fix a lot of things that are wrong with the Chiefs' passing game. I brought this up on our instant reaction video immediately following the game last night. Myself and Spencer Dupuis went on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. We had our instant reaction. You can go check it out if you'd like. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. And I said, the Eagles could blitz Patrick Mahomes in a way that it typically does not occur to teams to blitz Patrick Mahomes. Remember, for years, it was like, oh, you want to blitz Patrick Mahomes? Yeah, good luck with that. Because Mahomes would tear it to pieces. But here's how you can tear it to pieces. This is how you beat a blitz. Because what you have on the back end of the blitz is man coverage. So you have to beat man coverage. You have to have routes that beat man coverage, sure. But you also have to have route runners that beat man coverage. And right now, right this second, the guys on the field in week 2 for the Kansas City Chiefs, they're not a one of them that can beat man coverage. No, not one. Not Travis Kelce, not 36-year-old Travis Kelce, because that used to be the guy, right? Like, you go back to the good old days of the Chiefs offense. Okay, if you blitz, that means Tyreek Hill is one-on-one with somebody, and that's going to be a win for Tyreek Hill, prime Tyreek Hill. Or Travis Kelce is going to be one-on-one with somebody, probably a linebacker, and that's going to be a win for Travis Kelce. And Mahomes knows it. He'll read it. He'll get the ball out in a hurry. There's going to be yards after the catch, and they're going to keep the drive alive on a third down every single time. You did not blitz the Chiefs. You did not blitz Patrick Mahomes because they could win one-on-one on the backside with their wide receivers. Juju Smith-Schuster at this stage in his career is not winning one-on-one. Travis Kelce at this stage in his career is not winning one-on-one. Hollywood Brown is not winning a lot of one-on-ones. Tyquan Thornton can win a one-on-one if you run him in a straight line. But, a 9 route against the blitz, not necessarily the easiest proposition. They don't have the guys to beat that man coverage. And the Eagles knew it. And the Eagles said, all right, we'll just send people flying at Mahomes. Number one, they won't expect it because we didn't blitz them a single time in the Super Bowl. But number two, we'll just have our guys cover on the back end. Our guys are good. They'll just cover man-to-man on the back end, and those guys won't get open. And that'll be that. And it was. So, like I said, Rashee Rice is the Chiefs' best route runner, and Xavier Worthy's their fastest guy. Those guys can beat man-to-man. And if those guys are both out there, it makes it a dicier prospect to blitz Mahomes, and it will inject some life into the passing game. It will. I don't think the passing game is going to look like that all season once they get their guys back. But I don't think you can fix the running game. And I think Patrick Mahomes knows that the running game stinks because he's out there doing all the running himself. Right now, the Chiefs' best runner of the football is Patrick Mahomes. Through 2 games, he is the team's leading rusher. He has a rushing touchdown in each of the first 2 games. And Mahomes, who has talked publicly about, I really prefer to save the running for when we really need it. Weeks 1 and 2 of the season are when you really need it? That's a problem. That's a big problem. Isaiah Pacheco does not look good. Kareem Hunt does not look good. This team doesn't look like they can run the football. They can't really run it in short yardage. A terrible 4th and 1 is a pretty good example of that. If you can't run the ball, that makes it hard to operate your passing game even at full strength. So the offense has problems. The offense has big problems. Some of those you'd like to believe will be fixed when you have your full component of wide receivers. But in the interim, while you're waiting for that full component of wide receivers, you have to play a desperate Giants team next week. You have to play the Ravens in 2 weeks. You have to play Detroit in 4 weeks. And those teams, don't know if you've seen some of their early season exploits, but they could score the football. If you think you're going to batten down the hatches and win 20-17 or 19-17 or 17-14 against the Ravens or the Lions, buddy, you got another thing coming. You're not going to Marty ball 2025 your way to wins over those teams. Something has to be fixed on the offensive side of the ball that isn't just, well, we got to get our guys back. It's back to the drawing board because no offense with Patrick Mahomes should look like that. And it looked like that all of last year. All of last year. The Chiefs made it shake. They won the close games. This year, they're not winning the close games. That's how you get to 0-2, and that's where the Chiefs sit. Now, again, I guess I'm doing the old compliment sandwich here, kind of the positivity sandwich, I suppose, because I started with a kind note about the defense, which I think, like I said, that was a step up in performance. A lot of guys played pretty well, were impactful. Saquon Barkley did not dominate that game by any means. Jalen Hurts barely threw for 100 yards. That was a good shift by the Chiefs defense on Sunday. The passing game's broken, and the running game just isn't going to work. Like, if that's what's going to be all year, and they don't have a third down back to throw to really have the running back be like an actual part of the offense, I don't know. I don't know what the broader fix is. Andy Reid's a Hall of Fame head coach. I'm sure he's thinking about what the fix could be. Let's hope he comes up with one. But I'll close on this. Now, you want to call this a sunny note, you can. But look, it's not panic time. 0-2 is not time to panic. There are 15 games left in the season. There are good teams that have started 0-2 in recent years and still made the playoffs. Everybody knows the historic stats. Oh, my God. Only whatever percent it is, 10%, 15% of teams that start 0-2 make the playoffs. Well, they all missed the playoffs. Yeah, not all those teams are 3 times defending AFC champions. Last year, there were 3 teams that started 0-2 and made the playoffs, including the Broncos, for God's sake. So 0-2 is not a death sentence. Not in a 17 playoff, not in a 17-game season. We can stop pretending like 0-2 is a death sentence. But again, if they don't figure out something on offense, they're going to be doomed to play in a lot more close games like yesterday's. And if they keep catching the wrong end of the variance, if the ball bounces off Travis Kelce's hands and right into the arms of a defender instead of Kelce making the same catch he's made hundreds of times in his career, or the ball just bouncing harmlessly to the turf, or maybe it's Butker makes both of his 50-yard kicks and Jake Elliott misses one of his, and the game could have swung the other way. There are versions of that game yesterday, very small margins, flipping one way or another, and the Chiefs win. And we're talking about these things. Yeah, they got a ways to go, but hey, they pulled it out. They're 1-1. If Kelce doesn't bobble that ball into an interception, which leads directly to a short field touchdown, and instead of the Chiefs being ahead, they're behind by 2 scores, I think they win. And the difference in the game was that missed Butker field goal, literally on the scoreboard. So, 2 plays. We're talking about 2 plays. But those were the margins that the Chiefs lived on last year and thrived on last year. But the analytics guys, the stat geeks, the nerds, they'll all, and I say that with affection, will all tell you, if you keep riding your luck, eventually you're going to fall off. And through 2 games, we've seen what happens. We've seen what it looks like for the Chiefs to fall off and not have that kind of luck that they thrived on last season. Want to get some of your thoughts in on the YouTube comments real quick. See what some of you guys have to say. Tyler in the YouTube comments, play calling and coaching are to blame for the Chiefs losing. Can't go for it on 4th down and not get it. I'll have more to say on that play call later in the game. I actually didn't hate them going for it, but I think the fact that they went for it and didn't just punt it back to the Eagles in that spot was extremely revealing. Extremely revealing about how Andy Reid felt about his team and what they felt about the shirt. I saw a comment about the Rashi Rice shirts. Those were stupid. That's my thought on that. That was stupid. We'll get to that good, bad, ugly, I guess. No, what they thought about the game, what they thought about their chances of winning the game. Andrew says one-dimensional football. Vic Fangio blitzed all day yesterday, said beat us with the running game. Yeah, Chiefs aren't going to beat anybody with the running game. Not with those running backs. It's if it's not the worst running back room in the NFL, it's darn close. It's awful close. Paul K in the YouTube comments. Would love to see coaches held accountable. Why can't our guys get open? They need a fresh perspective or some new ideas from someone, wide receiver coach, offensive coordinator, somebody. Yeah, they do. The passing game does feel a little bit stale. And again, some of that is you don't have your best route runner and you don't have your fastest guy. And those 2 guys would have helped a lot against all that man coverage they saw yesterday. In fact, I think if those guys had been healthy, you would have seen less man coverage. And the deep ball that the Chiefs finally got, both the one that Mahomes missed to Tyquan Thornton and the one he hit for a touchdown, those are both against zones. And yes, I understand it was a 10-point game at the time. The Eagles might have been playing a little bit softer, a little bit more conservatively on defense, but there are plays to be had. There are plays to be had. I think the Chiefs are leaving some things on the field. We'll have some more thoughts about the Chiefs. Get to some of your thoughts from the YouTube chat. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. 785-272-9429, the text line. We'll take our first time out here on 580 Sports Talk. Come back with the good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was. And then we'll talk to Matt Verderame, our NFL insider. It's all next to 580 Sports Talk. It's the good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was in sports/life. Spencer Dupuy was your good.
Friday night, seeing Topeka West play really well. I think for the most part, for what they're growing program, right? And Trey Parker's trying to get them back, and they've had a tumultuous last few seasons, but it was a loss. But the fact that you could see progress was good for me. I think last year watching them, it was kind of hard to watch at some points, but seeing the progress was made calling or being on the call on the color for that game awesome, because it just wasn't necessarily a team running away with it. I think it was cool to see their progression over one year to another, and had fun at the Topeka Zoo Brew at the Zoo on Saturday.
Oh, nice. That's always
saw Bradley J out there from 94.5.
Nice. Always a fun event. My good for the weekend, every window of college football on Saturday had a great game. Clemson, Georgia Tech was awesome in the early window. Georgia, Tennessee was a great game in the midday window. Goes overtime, Georgia wins. And then Texas A&M, Notre Dame, incredible finish to that one up in South Bend in the nighttime window. Week 3 will sneak up on you in college football sometimes, and some of the marquee matchups really delivered. It was a fun Saturday of college football. My bad, the Rashi Rice shirts, that was a bad idea. Somebody should have told somebody on the Chiefs that was going to be a bad look. They don't need to be wearing free my guy shirts. I know that they love him, and they want to be a good teammate. They want to be supportive to their guy while he's suspended, and that's lovely. But you don't need to wear a T-shirt for a guy who's lucky he didn't kill a bunch of people, driving like a moron, and deserving of a suspension. We can quibble with the length, but there's no doubt he should be missing games, including yesterday's. And maybe if he'd have played, maybe if he'd not driven like a moron a couple of summers ago, maybe the Chiefs wouldn't be 0-2. So I thought those shirts were a really dumb idea. That's my bad.
My bad and ugly are the NFL officiating on the tush push. Everybody can see it. The NFL officiating has now copyrighted the footage on X, so you can no longer view it, by the way.
Interesting. Why would they do that?
There. And it says something when a former official, head of officials, I think, who was the TV analyst, Dean Blandino, says that he's done with the play. So there's no way to properly officiate it.
My ugly, poor Brendan Dorzinski, Trent Kraxner, and Greg Akagi on the call of Washburn football on Saturday. Maybe you did not see this. Washburn lost to Colorado Mines. I think 42-27 was the final score. Tough game. Mines is really good. Washburn, obviously, a rebuilding program. That's not why it was ugly. It was ugly because weather delays made it so that the game lasted from kickoff to final whistle 7.5 hours. And that is not a fun experience to spend that much time in a visiting broadcast booth. I've done something similar to it before. It's not a good time. So that was ugly. The weather in Golden, Colorado on Saturday. Let's take a break. We'll come back with Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated, our NFL Insider, next. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by our NFL insider here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt Verderame covers the league for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also, That Football Show on the KC Sports Network and his own subscriber-only Patreon, The Matt Verderame Show. Joins us every Monday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, we'll get into the unpleasantness that is the Chiefs' 0-2 start. But first, how was Lambeau on Thursday night?
It was great. It was rocking. A lot of fun. The Packers were... they were the best team in football through 2 weeks. They were a joy to watch. And the Commanders, look, it was fun seeing Jaden Daniels, but it was not a fun night for him. He had nowhere to go and nowhere to turn. It was a rough night for Washington, but it was a fun game to cover.
So you were at that one and got to see that one. And then, of course, we all got to watch on Sunday as the Chiefs fall to the Philadelphia Eagles 20-17 to fall to 0-2. And I'll start by asking this. Obviously, there's a lot wrong with the Chiefs passing game. How much of it do Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy fix whenever it is that they both get back?
I mean, the passing game, I think that is going to fix it. I think that will, by and large, fix it outside of – look, I think the other thing that has to get done here, and the Chiefs – trying to think of the right way to word this. The Chiefs move at a glacial pace sometimes when it comes to making personnel alterations. They've got to sit Juwan Taylor. They just have to do it. Like, look, they couldn't do it last year. They didn't have a backup who could come in and play. They weren't going to sit him for Wanya Morris. They weren't going to sit him for Kingsley Suamataia. Fair enough. They've got a $30 million player on the bench right now just lighting money on fire with because they won't sit a guy who not only takes penalties, took another one yesterday. He was abysmal in that game to the point that I actually thought they might just say, we got to do it now. But I think for the receivers, like, look, if you're going with Worthy and Rice and Thornton's running deep shot, like, that group's fine. Like, that's a good group. But what's more concerning is I know they're without those guys, obviously. That is no excuse for the way this team has played offense. I mean, you can't tell me that they can't get anybody open. They can't do anything until there's 3 minutes left in the game, and then all of a sudden it's bombs away 3 straight plays. Like, you've got to be able to scheme Noah Gray open, who has 2 catches for 4 yards this year. Like, you've got to figure out a way to get Hollywood Brown open on a 20-yard crossing route. Like, if you can't do that, that's on the coaching. That's on Andy Avery. It's not on Nagy. It's not on any other assistant. That's on plays. And they have got nobody open over the last 2 weeks.
Is the running game salvageable with the current group of running backs on hand, or is that something where Brett Veach might have to consider making a phone call and seeing who might be available around the league as the deadline approaches?
Look, I don't think, just being realistic, there is any way this team is going to run the football with this group. I was thinking about it this morning. It's got to be the worst running back room in the league. If it's not, it's in the top 3. Like, if you want to argue that it's one of maybe 2 other rooms around the NFL, okay, fine. They can't do anything. And, like, if you go and watch, I was watching some of the All-22 right before we got on this call. Like, look, there's not a ton of running room. I'm not trying to paint some picture that the Chiefs should be rushing for 5 yards to carry with these backs. They shouldn't be. Their offensive line missed a million assignments in that Eagles game. Some of that's on Mahomes having guys slide the wrong way. Some of that is flat out on players just blowing assignments, missing blocks. But there are times when, if the running back's a little more patient, maybe they gain 6 instead of 2. There are times where, there are creases to be hit, and it's not even their fault. Like, they're not fast enough. They're not good enough. And this was something that they knew coming to the Chiefs. They knew this offseason they needed to add running back talent. It was obvious based off last year. They did nothing. Elijah Mitchell is not even active on game days. Brashard Smith might as well not be active. They never play him. I don't think that'll be fixed with this group. And I would also, again, point to Andy and say, look, like, you have to change the way you run the football. You got to stop being in the gun on every play. They're getting in no rhythm. Get Pat under center. Run some zone read plays. Run some plays outside with Smith, who's got the speed to do it. Like, if you're just going to sit there and run off tackle, I should say really almost off guard, in between the tackles and dives and bellies. It's just not. I mean, there's no room. You can't run with this group of running backs like that. But I think, frankly, no matter what they do, they're going to struggle because their backs just have no talent. They're not good players.
Matt Verderame is our guest, our NFL insider from Sports Illustrated, joining us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, do you feel better about the Chiefs' defense broadly in Week 2? Is that closer to the kind of performance that you would expect from this team on a week-in, week-out basis? Maybe even better in some regard?
I got to be honest, and I want to clarify before I even say this. Look, nobody ever wants to see an injury, right? Like, you never want anybody to get hurt, and if you do, you're a terrible human being. When Mike Dana got hurt, and and Christian Fulton got hurt, and he left the game, I was very interested to see how the Chiefs were going to attack those issues, because those are two guys who thought coming into the game would play a decent amount. And the answer was they played Jalot and they played Noah Williams. I got to tell you, Noah Williams played really well in that game. Like, if you go back and look at the film of that game, Noah Williams played really well. And I thought Jalot, for a guy really seeing true snaps for the first time in his NFL career, he only played 8 snaps week 1. I thought he played well. And I think for the Chiefs, like, you've got to really think about, okay, look, do we just ride with some of these guys going forward here? Because my number one takeaway, I think let's talk about it here. I know I talked about it on my podcast. Like, my number one takeaway from week 1 was I just felt they were painfully unathletic defensively. They were slow. They couldn't move. Well, Noah Williams can move. Ashton Jalot can move. They can make plays. They can make plays in space. I also would say, though, that, to the broader question, they were much better at not blowing coverage assignments on defense. They were communicating. When you're giving up 9 catches for 80 yards to Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown on 15 targets, you're doing a great job. I thought they played much better. Chamari Connor, who deservedly got a lot of heat after week 1, look, he still is a liability, but he was better. I thought the safeties were infinitely better on the back end. It wasn't perfect. Look, their 4-man pass rush is a disaster. They've just got to bring constant blitzes to get pressure. But if your secondary can hold up, you can do it. You can live with that. It's not ideal, but they've won Super Bowls doing that. Like, you can do that, but you've got to have good corners who can play man. The Chiefs have that capability, especially if Williams turns out to be a good player right off the bat. So, look, it was a perfect no, but I would give the defense high marks. They did everything they had to do to win that game. They were just saddled with an offense, couldn't do anything.
Let's pivot to the rest of the National Football League, and I want to ask you this question. It wasn't really worth asking after they beat a Dolphins team that's a dead team walking, but after they lit up a Denver defense that we all thought would be one of the best in the NFL, is Daniel Jones and the Colts offense, are they good?
So far. Look, it's an impressive start. They haven't punted, right? They had a couple turnovers on downs last Sunday here against Denver, but they put up a ton. I mean, they put up 475 yards. It's not like it was some 17-14 game. I mean, they put up a ton of yardage and really made Denver look amateurish in the game defensively. Now, look, is that going to be something that happens all year? My brain tells me I've seen Daniel Jones for years on it. I have a hard time believing that all of a sudden Daniel Jones is going to light the world on fire. It can happen. Sam Darnold did it last year. Sam Darnold was part of a 14-win team. Like, it does happen. But I'm going to be honest. Would I be surprised? I would be surprised. That said, look at the division. Tennessee's awful. Jacksonville just lost to Jake Browning, who was in the process of throwing 3 interceptions in that game. They still beat Jacksonville. And Houston, look, we're going to see him tonight. Love the defense. The offense is brutal. So Indianapolis could win the division. Indianapolis certainly could do that and be interesting. But, that's kind of the one silver lining to this point with the Chiefs. Like, look around the conference. Who do you look at and say, oh, that team's playing great? I mean, Buffalo, yeah, kind of. I mean, their offense wasn't great yesterday throwing the ball at all, but they probably looked the best. Baltimore is there, but if you're the Chiefs, it's not like you look at the conference and go, oh my goodness, like how are we going to compete? Pittsburgh can't stop anybody. So, it's been a kind of a very rocky start for the AFC, but yeah, the Colts have looked great to this point.
We're joined by Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And Matt, bad weekend for quarterbacks, a lot of injuries. Obviously, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy among them. Which team is of those three, Bengals, Commanders, and Vikings, are in a worse spot with their quarterback out?
Oh, the Bengals. I mean, he's out for the season. Their season's over. Like, realistically speaking, their season's done. They're not going to make the playoffs with Jake Browning. I know he came in a couple of years ago and he played reasonably well. That team also had a halfway decent defense. This team has absolutely no shot because they can't stop anybody. I mean, Jacksonville scored 27 points. I watched that game. Jacksonville could have scored 45 points. They didn't drop the ball about 4 different times in key spots. Like, I got a hard time seeing Cincinnati in that division doing much of anything. I mean, if you look around, you're talking about a division where they're going to have to play Pittsburgh twice, Baltimore twice. They're going to have to go, and they're going to have to play the NFC North. I have a really hard time seeing Cincinnati making the playoffs with a defense that is really, quite frankly, liable to give up 30 points any game they play in. Washington, I think as long as Daniels, it's not too serious. Sounds like maybe he'll miss one game, but maybe not even that. And then McCarthy, let's be honest, he hasn't played well. Wentz might play as well, if not better than McCarthy has. So I don't even know if there's going to be a real dip for the Vikings. But for Burrow, it's a devastating injury. I mean, Burrow's career has just kind of had these moments where he's just had huge injuries. And it's sapped a lot of the years he's had. And part of it, let's be real, he can't block anybody. The guy gets hit nonstop every year, and it's taking a toll.
And sticking in the NFC North there, I'm talking about the Vikings, the Bears, do you think that how many offensive coordinators, playbooks, and such that Caleb Williams has had to learn in the last few years, maybe is stunting his development? He gets benched in a lopsided 52-21 loss for the Bears.
I think Caleb Williams has had it difficult in the sense that, yes, I mean, they've obviously, Eberflus gets fired. Now it's Johnson, and they're changing over systems. And that is hard for a young quarterback. But I would also point to the fact that, look, I've been around the Bears at practices and OTAs the last couple of years. They've been part of my camp tour. I know a lot of people close to that team. I would also argue Caleb Williams is a big part of the reason that Caleb Williams isn't playing well. Like, at some point here, you've got to do the little things right. If you watch the Bears-Lions game, go watch the first half of that game. Go watch how many times they're breaking the huddle with 7 seconds on the play clock, 8 seconds on the play clock. They're late. He has no time to make a check. Now, look, if that is because Ben Johnson is in his year till there's 15 seconds on the clock when that headset shuts off, Johnson. But I would guess that it's Caleb Williams only because this was a problem for them last year, where they constantly had issues pre-snap, where he struggled to get the plays out. And I don't think I don't know Caleb Williams very much at all, but I don't think it's an IQ problem here. I think it is a process problem where there's something going on between when the play comes in and snapping the ball that is a big struggle for that team. And I'm not just singling him out. It's the whole in the first half yesterday. They had 4 against Minnesota. I was at a practice against the Bills in August. They had 7. Like, you can't function like that. And I think Bears have had a lot of problems. Some of it's on Johnson, some of it's on Williams, but regardless, they're 0-2. Jalen Johnson's out for the year. That team is a team that has the look of a team that is circling the train here pretty early in September.
Matt, in 10 seconds, give us something to watch for tonight in Chargers-Raiders in the second game of the Monday Night Football doubleheader.
Can the Chargers continue to block the way they block against the Chiefs? If they can, then all of a sudden that's a much different team. If they can't, then I think it says more about the Chiefs in week 1 than it does about the Chargers.
Matt Verderame covers the NFL for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. You can catch him every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
That is Matt Verderame. We'll take a timeout, come back and wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk next. Our thanks again to Matt Verderame, our NFL insider, for joining us. One thing I didn't get a chance to ask Matt this week, are kickers too good? Brandon Aubrey made that 64-yard field goal to tie the game, Giants-Cowboys. They end up going on a Cowboys winning in overtime.
Yep.
It wasn't just that he made a 64-yard field goal and that it would have been good from 74. They played for the 64-yard field goal.
Oh, they did.
They ran to set up a 64. They ran the ball. They were like, oh, yeah, you know what? Yeah, if we get it to within 65, he's going to make it. Kickers are too good, man.
He could have made it if they didn't get that far.
Like, Butker's out there, missed from 58, 56, cash. Jake Elliott made a 57-yarder, 58-yarder? Like, kickers are too good, man.
Well,
like, when you only
it might
need
be the new
game,
K-ball. It might be the new K-ball.
I think it is. They can take some air out of those suckers. Because if you only got to drive the ball, the touchback's 35 now, right? If you've only got to drive the ball 25 yards to be in field goal range, because that gets you to the 40, that's 50-plus yards. Those are nothing for these guys anymore. It changes the game, changes the terms of the game. We got more to talk about, including K-State football next hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk, hour number 2 on this Monday. So glad you're with us on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, and Facebook, WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis hanging out with you. We're with you till 6. We got to do our whole job today, Spencer. There's no Royals baseball tonight. They're back from the East Coast. So we have full show. We got to do the full 3 hours like we used to.
Yeah, I was going through little inside baseball. All the commercials, sometimes we got to move them around to time out the segments correctly.
Sure.
So I was doing that today, and I was like, oh, yeah, we have to do the whole 5 o'clock hour today.
Yeah, we're a little lighter at 3 and 4 because we got ads in the 5 o'clock hour that are ours and not the Royals. Yeah. So, yes, we're here with you until 6 o'clock. No Royals baseball tonight. Final homestand of the season for the Royals begins tomorrow, and it is their last stand. They got 3 against Seattle, who they are no longer chasing. Seattle has passed Houston in the American League West. I can forgive all of you if you've maybe missed that. Typically, if your team is fading in September, you kind of tune out of the pennant races. I know for myself personally that is true. And the Royals spent this weekend losing a bunch of baseball games. Lost 2 out of 3 of the Phillies. So they did win yesterday. Jack Caglione hit a home run. That was cool.
I think
Salvi's up over 300 in his career. That's awesome.
Salvi is about to have another 30-homer season.
And listen, if you were to say in March, hey, look, it's a do-or-die Royals home series, and they've got Michael Wacha, Cole Reagans, and Seth Lugo lined up to start those 3 games, you'd be feeling good.
Normally.
Because that's true. That is the projected starters for this week for the Royals against the Mariners. But the elimination number, the tragic number, if you will, is 7.
Oh, it's at 7 now.
It is 7.
Okay.
It is 7.
All I know is that last week, the number from which they were behind the wild card hovered around 3 for a lot.
It did.
And then it jumped all the way to 6.
Yeah,
by the time today.
And look, we said to start September they had the 6-game homestand and the 7-game road trip, and I said at the time they need to find 8 wins in those 13. They probably need to go 8-5 in that stretch, and they went 5-8 instead. But even if they'd gotten those 3 wins, they'd still be 3 out. Like the teams ahead of them are just playing a little better, and time running short on the Royals. We'll have a little more to say about them when we get around to the 5 o'clock hour on the program today, but there is no Royals baseball tonight. Instead, we'll talk about the other teams that so uplifted us over the weekend, the Chiefs and Kansas State football. Man, hard times. I think I saw a friend of the program, John Kurtz, I think posted this to social media. Kansas State and the Chiefs have now 5 combined losses. On September 14th, they have lost 5 games. Last season, they got to 5 combined losses with Farmageddon, so the end of November. So we are not particularly well practiced at doing such dour Monday shows here on 580 Sports Talk. But that's kind of what we have with K-State losing Friday, with the Chiefs having lost on Sunday. Got some more Chiefs thoughts coming up this hour. The thing I heard on Sunday that bugged me the most, and I'm going to talk through why it bothered me so much with regards to how the Chiefs wound down their 20-17 loss to the Eagles. Want to get your thoughts on that as well. Again, hit us up in the chat. If you're watching on YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Get in the chat. We appreciate hearing from you in the chat room. And your thoughts, your comments, your reaction to the sports weekend that was. And go subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. We got to 800 subscribers, so arm wrestling will be delivered Wednesday on the show. 2 days from today. Brendan and I are going to arm wrestle as promised.
Do we have the logistics down yet?
We're doing it in the 4 o'clock hour.
But where?
Here.
Where are we?
Like in the studio, like here where the table's at. We'll move the camera around. We'll set it up. We'll figure it out. Like
I wasn't in that meeting.
No, the logistics are coming from me. Let's be real honest about this. I'm the one-man logistics here on this. So, but we're gonna make it work. We're gonna arm wrestle Brendan and I on Wednesday's show. So when we get to 900 subscribers, which you should help us get to if you are not already subscribed by subscribing to our YouTube channel 580 Sports Talk, When we get to 900 subscribers, we're going to do 5A Sports Talk karaoke, and all of us will sing songs selected based on your recommendations and your selections. You, the listener, will get to submit songs. We will draw one out of a hat of your submissions, and we will sing on the radio for all of you on an edition of 580 Sports Talk. So get us closer to that by subscribing today. 580 Sports Talk. You can also text the program. Text line is open today. 785-272-9429. Want to hear from you, Chiefs fans, K-State fans, Royals fans, anybody. Get in on the show. Get in on the action. Get in on the conversation on the text line, 785-272-9429. Friday night in Tucson. K-State 17, Arizona 23. And if you were being honest with yourself watching that game, even as K-State was thrown one last lifeline with under 2 minutes to play in the fourth quarter, when Arizona missed a field goal that would have iced the game, Kansas State regained possession, down by 6. When a touchdown could have won the game, the smash and grab was a possibility for the Wildcats. I want you to be honest with yourself. You didn't think that was going to happen, did you? You did not believe that the Kansas State offense had it in them to put together a scoring drive. And why would you? Why would you have believed that based on the 4 games worth of evidence we have from this Kansas State offense? They, of course, did not. Avery Johnson's fourth down pass to Jace Brown was incomplete, perhaps because everybody in the stadium knew that it was going to be a forced pass to Jace Brown. At least it was thrown beyond the sticks. I'll give him that. But it was a turnover on downs. Arizona, who was the better team throughout the night, kneeled out the clock. We had talked in the first couple of losses for K-State against their FBS foes, Iowa State and Army, that K-State had played on pretty even terms, in some ways had outperformed those two opponents and still lost by a field goal in both games because, again, those games, when they're that close, they're won and lost on the margins, and K-State was more losing those on the margins than losing those because they were dramatically inferior. They were the inferior team on Friday night. Make no mistake about it. They were the worst team. And they deserved to lose, and they did lose. And the fact that they did not lose more decisively is, again, it's fashionable, it's in vogue for whatever reason to say things like they're quitters or they're soft about 18 to 23-year-old kids. We love to do that. We love to, it's Bill Self's favorite word to criticize his KU basketball teams when they're not playing well. He loves to call them soft, and some teams respond to that. Some teams don't respond to that. Note what Bill Self never said about this previous year's Kansas Jayhawk basketball team. He never called them soft because he knew if he did, they'd never recover. I don't think, to wind it back around to the topic du jour, I do not think that Kansas State is soft, and I do not think that they are quitters. I do not think this is a program, a culture, a tradition that abides softness and that abides quitters. You are not going to see this team quit. They turned that game into a 4-quarter game and had no business being a 4-quarter game. Kansas State was under 2 yards of play in the first half. 2 yards, under 2 yards per play on average. And they were down 2 touchdowns. And if you're going to quit, that's where it happens. They made second-half defensive adjustments. They bowed up. They were good in the red zone. They forced field goal attempts rather than touchdowns. They made a big special teams play. They made a big defensive play, Quay Moss's interception. They've got pride and tradition and culture and a coach who's never been anything but a winner in Chris Kleiman. This is not going to be a team that quits. This is not going to be a team that goes 1-11 or 2-10. But if we were wondering, if we were waiting for a verdict on the big question that we were asking coming out of really their first 3 games, is Kansas State bad or are they just playing badly? We have our answer. Kansas State is a bad team. They are a bad football team. And the reason they are a bad football team is not because they are soft or because they are quitters. They are a bad football team because, A, they're not good enough. B, the coaching staff has not put them in good enough positions to succeed and to accentuate the talent that is on this roster. And that leads to C. They are bad because they are totally unsalvageable on offense. It's the worst Kansas State line I've ever seen. I've only been covering teams since 2013. I missed the Prince years. Obviously too young to remember Stan Parrish. But this is the worst Kansas State offensive line I've ever seen. do not win at the point of attack. They do not provide holes for their running backs. Power running game simply doesn't exist. But that's not the biggest problem with the offense. The biggest problem with the offense is that 4 games into his junior season, as the most hyped and the greatest pedigree prospect that Kansas State has ever brought to their football program to play the quarterback position, Avery Johnson is a completely broken player.
Yeah.
An utterly broken player. This is a young man who you ask everybody who knows him, who's covered him, who's been around him, who's interviewed him, what do they all say about Avery Johnson? Even-keeled kid. Doesn't let his emotions get the best of him. Never too high, never too low. Very even-keeled. Did that look like an even-keeled young man to you, storming off the field after every end of possession, snapping at his teammates, snapping at his coaches, snapping at no one in particular? And maybe that's an over-dramatization of the event, but Avery Johnson did not mask or make any attempt to mask his frustrations on Friday night. Frustration with an offensive line that is substandard. Frustration with the offense, in large part because of a substandard offensive line. Frustrated at himself, which he ought to be, because he has not played to a level that is acceptable. I mean, look, every player in that locker room, I think, can look in the mirror and say that they have not been their best. Maybe Jace Brown's the one exception. But just about everybody else in that locker room, you look at yourself in the mirror, you playing your best football, are you playing an acceptable level of football? Can veteran leaders on defense like Cody Stufflebean and BJ Payne and Des Purnell, can they honestly look in the mirror and say they've been good enough? No, they can't. And Avery Johnson is a number one example, is the example. He's the quarterback. He's the guy. He's the face of the program. He has to play better. He has to make more throws. He has to make more plays. So a lot of this is him too. But you saw that frustration spill over for Avery Johnson in a way that typically doesn't spill over for somebody like him. And the part of it that is the most frustrating is the play calling. It has to be said. And it begs the question, do you think Chris Kleiman has any friends who are good offensive coordinators? Because he's hired 2 of his buddies and he's 0 for 2. Like, Courtney Messingham was Chris Kleiman's best friend in the world, and that lasted 3 years. And I don't know if they still talk. I'm guessing no. But we all know how difficult that was for Kansas State to move away, depart from the Courtney Messingham experience as offensive coordinator. But it got to the point where there was no choice. It got to the point where Chris Kleiman knew it cannot continue like this. We are not putting our offensive talent in the best position to succeed with this scheme, with this offense. And that means best friend or no best friend, I got to move on from Courtney Messingham. And he did. To his credit, once that became clear, the Texas game in 2021 at the end of that season, where they were better than Texas, they had more talent. That was a lousy Texas team, but they couldn't finish drives. They were terrible in the red zone, and they lost a game they should have won. That was the tipping point. I remember leaving that game and turning it off. I think I was watching that game on TV and saying that's got to be it. That's the point of no return for Courtney Messingham as the offensive coordinator. And it was. He was dismissed. Never coached another game at Kansas State. I don't know that they're going to make a change today. I certainly am not aware of one. I don't know that they're going to make a change on the bye week. I don't know that they're going to make a mid-season change. It's a pretty radical thing for a college program to do. But Friday night in Tucson was the point of no return for Matt Wells, the play caller on this offense.
I think, too, you look back, I don't know when you turned it on to watch it in real time, Dan, but I got home, obviously, I think a whole quarter left to go at that point. And especially that last drive, they had a shot. They had a clear shot to win the ball game.
No, they didn't. That's the point I made at the top of the thing. They in the mathematically.
In theory,
yes.
I'm saying in theory
yes,
they did.
But you
in
knew
theory they should have,
to.
but they're limited because of their offensive coordinator.
It can't continue like this. It can't. It cannot continue like it is currently operating. An offense that has, look, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Avery Johnson is all of a sudden a bad football player. I don't think he forgot how to play football. I don't think that's a guy who's not the guy who we saw light it up in spot duty as a freshman and play very effectively for good chunks of his sophomore year. I do not think this is a flowers for Algernon type of deal. That's pretty literary for a sports talk program, I know. But I don't think this is a deal where he's forgotten how to play. I really and truly do not. I don't think that Jace Brown has forgotten how to play football. In fact, I think he's been pretty good. I think that when he gets the ball, they snapped the ball to him twice this season, and it's been a big play each time. It was a 75 down in the third quarter on Friday night. I don't know. Maybe try that more often than just once every other game. Just a thought. Dylan Edwards being hurt obviously has been a huge blow to this team. There's no denying that. But there is talent on this football team. There's talent on that offense. And for it to look like that, so disjointed and discombobulated, and too often, it's not just the lack of execution. It's the fact that you're not giving your guys a chance. You don't give your team a chance to convert on a 3rd and 7 when you throw a 3-yard out, unless you're throwing it to a first-team All-American wide receiver who's going to make a bunch of guys miss. Especially, like, the word's out that this is what K-State does. K-State runs that little play action, leak the tight end out across the formation into the flat. They love to run that on 3rd and short. You know who else knows that? Everybody they play. And Arizona swallowed that play up in the second half for a loss and a forced punt. You don't give your guys a chance, and that is the kind of thing that means you have to make a change. When you are not, as a coach, as a play caller, giving your players even an opportunity to succeed. Whether or not they're good enough to succeed in those spots is immaterial. You have to make what you can with what you have. You have to put your players in position to succeed. When that stops happening, you can't continue in that job. So that's where we're at. 4 games into the season, we're already at a point of no return with Matt Wells as the offensive coordinator. And we know Chris Kleiman's got the stomach to fire a lifelong friend. It maybe took him a little longer than it should with Courtney Messingham, but he has the stomach to do it. The only question with Matt Wells is, does it happen now? Does it happen during the bye? Or does somebody else take over the play calling responsibilities and Matt Wells is kind of a lame duck for the rest of the season? Or do we all have to wait until the end of the year for the inevitable to occur? But that's where we're at, barring something dramatic on the bye week. And I don't know, maybe we see it, but I cannot stress how dramatic the change would have to be for that situation to become salvageable. Because, like, let's just look down the road. Look to Lawrence. Remember when they started 1-5 last year? Of course you do. And we said, oh my gosh, they might go 1-11. They might go 2-10. Like, there are no wins on the back end of the schedule. Well, they found a way, right? They won games you didn't think they were going to win on paper. They found a way to beat Iowa State. They found a way to win at BYU. They found a way to beat Colorado. They did it with some good offense. You know what that didn't change? The fact that Jeff Grimes had to go. And that they did not stand in the way of Wisconsin when they said, hi, we would like to hire Jeff Grimes. The response from the Kansas side was, well, we can help him get to the airport for you. We'll even help him pack. Like that's what it was. And it was clear during the 1-5 start that was what it had to be. So it is clear now what it has to be with Kansas State and Matt Wells. Because for whatever you say, whatever you think about this Kansas State team, if you thought going into the season, well, I always kind of felt like they were overrated. I always kind of worried about what they were in the trenches, which is frankly not good enough on either side of the ball. Like, that's one thing. It shouldn't be this. It can't be this. And it cannot continue like this. And you hit the point of no return 4 games in. And salvaging the rest of this season is going to take a lot. You know what helped KU a lot in salvaging or nearly salvaging their 2024 season? Is that they, after starting 1-5, they got to play Houston. And Houston stunk last year. They're better this year. See what they did to Colorado? That may be as much about Colorado as it is about Houston, but like Houston's much better this season. But last year they were bad. They were flat out bad and a punching bag. And KU got to treat them like a punching bag, and it got them some wind under their sails, and it led to better football in the second half of their season. UCF is kind of that team this year in the Big 12, it would appear. And that's who K-State plays out of the bye. If K-State can get their heads right, get some things figured out scheme-wise, tell Avery Johnson, take the shot caller off of him and let him know he's allowed to run the football if there's green grass ahead of him, and that a 4-yard gain is fine, and that getting 3 and sliding is fine too, that it beats being in 2nd and 10 and 3rd and 10 all night, especially when you know you're only going to throw it 3 yards on 3rd and 10. If significant changes are made, if this program digs deep, and they can come out and they can beat UCF 2 Saturdays from today, that could put them on course to have a second 2/3 of their season, I guess, final 2/3, that looks a little bit more like what Kansas did last year. I still think, again, given the pedigree of the coach, given the culture of the program, that it's more likely the season goes in that direction where they salvage a little something. That doesn't mean they'll make bowl eligibility. That's going to be an uphill battle for this team. But that they'll be able to salvage a little bit of pride and a little bit of momentum from this season rather than the version of events that sees them go 2 and 10. Like, I do not think that is as likely as like 5 and 7 or even 6 and 6. But they're a bad team. They're a bad team. They're not good enough up front. They're not good enough in the trenches. Chris Kleiman said as much. You want to hear some radical honesty from a head coach. Chris Kleiman tell you exactly what's wrong with his team. They're not as good as they thought they were, and they're losing the line of scrimmage. Point blank, period. That's where they're at. And football is a line of scrimmage game. And K-State is just getting worked on the line of scrimmage, and they do not have a whole lot of confidence right now. And it's a hard thing to watch. Some comments from the listeners. Text line from the 785 says maybe the offensive line doesn't like Avery Johnson. I'll tell you this. I bet Avery Johnson doesn't like that offensive line right about now. I don't think, like, I'll tell you this. If there were some scuttlebutt behind the scenes about some disharmony, we would know about it. The K-State, the people that cover K-State know that team, and that stuff gets out. Like that stuff, that kind of stuff we would know about. Even if it was being sort of obliquely referenced, we would know about that. Mark H said the Sunflower Showdown could be interesting this year for sure. In the YouTube comments, KU going to win that game. Let me tell you right now.
Yeah, about to change the narrative.
First one in the new booth. They haven't won in 16 years. Man, you could not give me a number high enough right now to pick Kansas State on the spread. I'll tell you that right now. But again, a lot can change. That's in October. There's a lot that can still change. And sometimes a team embraces a bye week, but the change would just have to be so radical to set this team back on a course to be anything like we thought they were. Right now, they are a team that's just going to you cross your fingers and you hope for bowl eligibility. And that's not what this should be. And it got there because the offense is unacceptable. Utterly and completely unacceptable. And it might be time to look beyond Chris Kleiman's Rolodex, and it might be time even to look beyond the K-State family and say, hey, we got to get some fresh ideas. We got to get some fresh ideas for Avery Johnson's senior year. If he comes back, which is a conversation for another day.
Yeah,
we'll talk some Chiefs football. We'll do What Is Wrong With You coming up later on 580 Sports Talk. So what is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk? We got a new week. We got two new stories competing for honors. Winner today will be our champion for the week and move on to tomorrow. Champion of the week for now, and then move on to
start
tomorrow.
the week.
Two new stories today. My first story sends us to Germany, where a family confused birthday candles with fireworks, put fireworks on a cake. 20-year-old Askin Akar leaned over his cake while relatives set up what everyone assumed were standard sparklers. Seconds later, the room filled with flames and screams as the candles shot off like a pyrotechnics demo in the middle of a dining room. Everyone ran and ducked to avoid the flaming shrapnel. Guests can be heard panicking and covering their faces as sparks ricocheted around the room and smoke filled the air. Nobody seems sure how a box of fireworks ended up doubling as have the ability to share pictures or video. But yeah, man, those were not harmless little sparklers. Those were actual fireworks that they put on a cake. Hey, at least you only turned in 20. Imagine if you'd been turning 65. That could have been a lot worse. As Vance puts it in the YouTube comments, sounds like that party was a blast. Just no selling all these jokes today, Spencer. We're being very funny over here, and you're missing out.
Yeah.
Paul says that's why large fireworks are measured in cakes. Yeah, might be. Yeah. So confused the fireworks with birthday candles, and about blew the birthday boy's face off. At least he wasn't leaning over to blow them out when they started going off. Thank goodness for small miracles. Spencer, what is your story today?
Yeah, it's another Florida man, another fraud story, except for this is a multi-state $400,000 car dealership scam. Florida man was busted by Orlando police for an elaborate scam targeting car dealerships and insurance providers. Over the course of several years, the Floridian set up multiple fake businesses and defrauded multiple car dealerships across a handful of states. Police in Orlando took Michael Hummel into custody after years of investigations. The man allegedly committed scams across multiple states involving car dealerships and insurance companies. As part of the scheme, he would make fake purchases from car dealerships per WFTV9. According to the arrest documentation, he also involved insurance providers in his scams, totaling around $400,000 in bogus buys. This wasn't the first for him either. Law enforcement says investigator into Hummel looked into his criminal actions go back to May of 2022. He reportedly used his schemes to buy at least 18 vehicles.
Wow.
Now, over 3 years later, he's looking at serious consequences for defrauding car dealerships, insurance providers, and using fake businesses. Police in Florida are charging the man with multiple counts of fraudulent use of personal identifying information, scheme to defraud, and first-degree grand theft. So
18 cars
over
$400
grand.
About a 3-year.
Yeah.
That is elaborate.
Yeah.
That is extremely
Multiple
elaborate.
businesses.
Quite a story. I'm going to lean with people almost blow off birthday boys.
How do you not know the difference between fireworks and candles? Because it seemed pretty obvious to me.
Yeah, those went off pretty impressively. I think just got to do a little bit more careful shopping. Like, I can understand if I went to Germany and I didn't know the language and I bought like the wrong thing, that'd be one thing. I presume they can all read the native tongue. Yeah. They're familiar enough to not reach for the box of fireworks when they mean to reach for the box of candles. Anyway, that'll be our winner. The explosive birthday party will be our winner on What Is Wrong With You. We'll take a timeout. Come back. The thing that bugged me the most about the Chiefs' loss happened at the very end. We're going to talk about it when we come back on 580 Sports Talk. 441 on 580 Sports Talk, more than halfway home on this Monday edition with you until 6 o'clock today. Yeah, we got the full 3 hours on 580 Sports Talk today. No Royals baseball. They're back in action tomorrow as they open their final homestand of the season. Chiefs lost yesterday, 2017 to the Eagles. Moments in the dying seconds of the game. Maybe you saw it. It went viral afterwards. The microphones on field picked up an exchange between Chris Jones and Jalen Hurts. And the gist of it, because I can't quote it directly because, well, the FCC has rules about that kind of thing. But the gist of the conversation was Chris Jones pointing out to Jalen Hurts that he didn't even have 100 yards passing, which wasn't quite true. I think he finished with 105 passing yards. But anyway, it was Chris Jones saying that, Jalen Hurts wasn't any good because they'd held him to whatever the number of passing yards it was, a limited number of passing yards. And Jalen Hurts' response was, we won the game. Who cares? Shut up, which was 100% the correct response for Jalen Hurts to have. Now, I understand that some of this is Chris Jones has a mouth that never stops moving. It's what has made him such a delight over the years, such a fun player, because he does. He talks that talk and very frequently backs it up. He's going to Hall of Fame. He's going to the Chiefs Ring of Honor. He's an all-time great interior pass rusher in his era. And I don't mind, and I've never really minded a little trash talk. I'm not upset at Chris Jones for being a trash talker. Everybody knows that about him. That's his reputation. It precedes him. But in that moment, Jalen Hurts' response is kind of my response. Yo, Chris, who cares how many yards you held Jalen Hurts to? Who cares that the Eagles had 3.7 yards per play? Who cares that Saquon Barkley was held under 100 yards into just 4 yards per rush on 22 carries? Who cares about any of that? The scoreboard says Eagles 20, Chiefs 17. That's the thing that matters. And I did not like Chris Jones in that moment because I felt the same way I felt about him trying to get upfield and get the sack on Justin Herbert on that 3rd and 14, the season opener. Felt like that was Chris Jones being a little bit too much about Chris Jones. Being a little bit too much about what he accomplished or his stats or his team's stats, and not as concerned as he ought to be with the result on the scoreboard. Look, Chiefs defense played well. They got a lot of really good things to take away from that game. The Eagles, their 2 touchdown drives were, trying to do the math, 52 and 59 yards. So the Eagles did not really put together long, sustained drives. I think they had 2 explosive plays, and maybe that's overcounting it. They had the jump ball to Devontae Smith that set up the touchdown that made it 20-10. Other than that, they didn't really get anything down the field to their best guys. They didn't have a lot of open field catch and run. Saquon Barkley's touchdown run was his best run of the game. He really didn't do a whole lot other than that.
I mean, he was in this game, he wasn't the normal Saquon that we think of, the breakaway guy. He was more the workhorse guy.
Yeah, and he had to be because that's what the Chiefs turned him into. They were really good, just like they were in the Super Bowl.
I heard an analogy today about the Eagles offense. They are kind of the Chiefs offense of last year, this year to start the year, where it's like, hey, we're going to flash when we need to, but we're not going to be flashy all the time. It's going to get boring.
The Chiefs did a really nice job against the Eagles offense. And I think that if the defense performance you could feel good about, if you're those guys, it was a definitive bounce back from some of the disappointments and some of the problems that were on display in week 1 against the Chargers. And maybe film session was a good one today for those guys. I mean, they could pat themselves on the back and feel pretty good about having given their team a chance to win a football game. But crowing about that on the field when you're about to get beat, to me, that tells me that your priorities are in the wrong place. That tells me that Chris Jones's priorities right now are not in the proper place. And we had that go viral. We also saw Travis Kelce on the sideline. Paul K's all over this on the YouTube comments saying he was sick of this expletive at one point during the game. And I don't know what exactly play he was referring to, because I think the clip that they showed came following a Chiefs scoring drive or at least a Chiefs big play.
I think it was taken out of context.
I don't know what the context was.
Yeah.
But I do know this. You can't be that guy and then drop a touchdown into the arms of the opposing team in the same game. That's not a great look. I don't blame necessarily Travis Kelce for that. But again, you got guys who are typically fiery, typically talkers, typically leaders on this team. And I don't think it bodes well that this team is in an 0-2 hole. And that's what we're seeing from these guys publicly. That we're seeing that level of frustration from Travis Kelce, and we're seeing Chris Jones sort of a little selfish in the late stages of a couple of different games. I'm concerned about that. I think there are other leaders on the team that can nip those kinds of things in the bud. I think that among those leaders is head coach Andy Reid, who I'm sure is all too aware of what goes on the field and what kinds of things get said between those white lines. I don't necessarily expect to have a long-term problem here, but I don't like how that looked. And I didn't like how that sounded. And there's the old bit from Pat Riley, who was the head coach, of course, of the Los Angeles Lakers, the Showtime dynasty of the 1980s. And his argument that the thing that takes down dynastic teams, winning teams, called the disease of me, where you start to look a little bit more inward than outward when it comes to how you define success. You define your own success. You're trying to get your own. You're trying to glorify your own, and you lose a little sight of the greater cause. And I think that there's some evidence that maybe some of that is happening with this Chiefs team in a way that we haven't really seen throughout the better part of the last 6-7 years. Who cares what your stats were? Who cares what your side of the ball did? Did you win or not? That's the only thing that matters. And the Chiefs have been so good over the years. That's the other reason this stood out to me, is because the Chiefs have been so good about keeping the main thing. Patrick Mahomes has a game that doesn't look that good statistically, and everybody in the league wants to crow about, well, look who's putting up better stats. Allen, Jackson, Burrow, those guys are winning MVPs. They're putting up better stats. Mahomes doesn't care. Did we win or not? If we won, it's a success. If we didn't, it's not. Mahomes is going to be the last guy in the world who goes out midfield after a game and shakes Josh Allen's hand and said, oh, you might have got me today, but I threw for 250 and 3 scores. You know, I outplayed you today. I threw it all over your defense. Who cares? Did you win or did you lose? These guys have been winners for so long. Maybe you forget. Maybe you forget how to lose when you've won as long, when you've won as often as the Chiefs had. But just a thought that I had watching the very end of that game. Something else that bothered another listener, a text from the 785, and maybe they thought this is what I was referring to. So, regards to the tush push, and we brought this up on our instant reaction video last night, 5A Sports Talk. Brought it up again in the good, bad, the ugly. Texter from the 785 said that's a false start, regardless if it's on the tush push. Yes, the Eagles are lining up in the neutral zone, and they're false starting every time they line up for that play. They are. Also, a Chief player took a swing at the football as it was being snapped. You are absolutely not allowed to do that. That was also not flagged. I don't think the officials can see, man.
Yeah, so
that's the biggest problem with this play right now is how can you officiate it appropriately if you can't really see what's happening?
There's another view, and it looks like Chris Jones' head is over the ball.
Yeah, well, and he did get flagged for offsides on one of them.
Yeah.
So, like, we both brought up individually, separately of each other, Dean Blandino's reaction to it on the Fox broadcast, which, by the way, I thought it was a good broadcast yesterday, and I might be an on second thought for later this week. Tom Brady's better at this than he was last year. I still don't think he's like the greatest analyst I've ever heard, but he's better at this.
No, and I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think Tom Brady is surpassing
Tony Romo. I don't think that's a hot take at all.
Okay.
I think a lot of what made Tony Romo special was he knew the league really well, and he spent enough time out of the league that he doesn't know all the guys as well as he used to.
Yeah.
So he can't do all
I think Fox is the top 2 color analyst in the game.
I still think Greg Olson's the best, but no, Brady's getting better at it. Like that was a better broadcast yesterday. But Dean Blandino, the Fox officiating expert, saying
who used to be an NFL referee
and the head. He was the head.
Yes.
He was the head of officials. He was the head of officials in the NFL, just like Mike Pereira used to be. And he's he's CBS's guy. No, he's not CBS's guy. That's Gene Steratore.
No, Mike Pereira is the other Fox guy.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're both over there.
I think Pereira's less though.
Anyway, for Dean Blandino to say in exasperatedly, I'm done with the tush push.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's how the officials feel about it, where they don't know how to officiate it cleanly and they don't want to deal with all of the pointing and the jawing back and forth and the grief they get from both sides. I wonder, the league did not vote. The teams did not vote to legislate the play out of the league. And as long as it's a legal play, the Eagles should keep running it. They should keep running it. It's your job to stop it. The Chiefs got 2 stops against it. They kept the Eagles from gaining a first down on one, and they kept the Eagles from getting in the end zone on one. Of course, the Eagles got it on the next try. It's really hard to stop more than once in a row. But the Chiefs, I thought, defended that play about as well as anybody could hope to. So if this is coming off as sour grapes, it's certainly not intended as such. It's a legal play. Run the play. But if there's all these illegalities happening in the midst of the play that officials either can't see or won't do anything about, and if it's so hard to officiate that, let's be real honest about it. I know he scored on the play after, but the play before Jalen Hurts' rushing touchdown, Jalen Hurts was in, man. That ball's across the plane. At least it sure looked like it was, but it's impossible to tell because all the bodies are in one big pile. So you've got a play that is extremely difficult, even at best, to officiate and rule on in the flow of the game. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe that, from the officiating perspective, is the thing that gets that play out of the game. Because I do think it's a little anti-football. It's certainly not fun to watch.
It's just a scrum.
Even though the Eagles are awesome at it, and they're one of one. Because if any other team could do it, they would do it. But it's not fun to watch unless you're an Eagles fan. It's not entertaining, and you've got an entertainment product here.
I think the only entertaining part for that was last year when they decided, hey, let's run fakes off this.
Yes.
That made it kind of entertaining because it's like, what way are we going to go here? Are we going to go straight tush push or are we going to do a fake tush push?
So maybe the discussion over it is something of a tipping point. I'm just glad to have watched a Chiefs game and everybody's talking about the officials and a team getting a friendly ruling from the officials, and they're not talking about the Chiefs in a really annoying way. That's a nice change.
Although they're still talking about that Patrick Mahomes near the end of the game where he had a chance to throw down a Tyquan Thornton. The X is talking about that.
They called a roughing the passer that was kind of soft, but they missed one earlier that was, I thought, more egregious on the same player. It was just not great officiating yesterday. Not the reason the game unfolded the way it did officially. That's my stance on the subject. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the hour. 580 Sports Talk next. Wrapping up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. The week not quite in the books for a 580 Sports Talk picks contest. Still got one more game that left out there, one more pick to finish the week. Brendan needs the under in Tampa Bay, Houston tonight, the total 42.5. If that doesn't hit, Brendan gets skunked. He was 0 for 4 this week on his spread picks. 0 for 2 in college, 0 for 2 in the NFL. So
already not having a good start to the year.
Hoping our guy doesn't get skunked. Look, I can attest, he can attest. Having a child makes you a worse gambler. You just there's less time in the day to implement your system. Let's just say that. Still in all, I had a winning week this week. 3-0 in games that did not involve local teams. 0-2. I had the Chiefs to cover. That didn't happen. Had the over on Avery Johnson rushing yards. Silly me. But all my other picks were correct, so I had that going for me, which is nice. Winning week for me. Winning week for Spencer as well. A 3-2 week. So Spencer stays on top of the standings. I am a game and a half back. I don't know how the math works with those pushes that I had in week 2. But Spencer and I, we won you some money this week. Brendan they're going to take his thumbs if the under doesn't hit in Tampa Bay, Houston, which would be a big advantage when I arm wrestle him on Wednesday on the show. Coming up, we got headlines. We got more thoughts for the college football and NFL weekends and some final thoughts on that Chiefs loss. Coming up on 580 Sports Talk.
All right, 580 Sports Talk. 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 580 Sports Talk.
Let's get it. Hour number 3 of 580 Sports Talk on this Monday. Not a victory Monday. Been short on those to start the 2025 football season. Eventually. We won't go without a victory Monday forever. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, our Facebook page, WIBW News. With you for one more hour. We're off at 6 tonight. Chiefs Kingdom with Mitch Holtis follows us. And then we'll join the Monday Night Football doubleheader in progress from Westwood One. And we'll jump in probably about early second quarter, I would guess, maybe mid-second quarter of Houston, Tampa Bay. And then we'll hear in full the second half of the doubleheader tonight. They're making people stay up late for some Chargers and Raiders tonight.
Is the game kicking off at 6:20 Central or 6 o'clock Central?
The first game, my understanding, was going to be a 6 o'clock kick, but maybe I'm wrong.
So if it's 6 o'clock, they might be very close to halftime at 7 o'clock.
That'd be a pretty fast half.
I mean, they might be like 7 minutes left in the second quarter.
Mid-second quarter. Yeah, about right. Anyway, so 2 games tonight. You'll hear them both. You'll hear a game and a half at the very least. Game and 3 quarters maybe. Right here on your Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. You'll want to be subscribed to our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Wednesday in the 4 o'clock hour, Brendan Dorzinski and I, as long promised, are going to arm wrestle. For those who are maybe new to the program, maybe don't listen every day, maybe don't catch us every hour of every show, we promised the listeners when we got to 800 YouTube subscribers, Brendan and I would arm wrestle. Now, you know, Brendan has intermittently been in and out of the program here the last couple of months, but he's still around. He's still here, and he's going to arm wrestle me on Wednesday in the 4 o'clock hour. Starting the 4 o'clock hour, he will arm wrestle me, and I will defeat him. I plan to defeat him in combat. Question being asked from the 785 on the text line: will we get montage training videos? I don't know that any of us is good enough to edit something like that, but will you get WWE style promos on the YouTube channel? You might want to subscribe just to make sure you don't miss it.
In that corner.
You just might want to make sure, do a little maybe one of us is doing a little Steiner math.
Hey, you guys got to give me a little maybe an intro song that won't get us in trouble on YouTube.
Yes, we'll have a little walk-in song and everything, and we'll do it up. We'll have some fun with it on the YouTube stream on Wednesday in the 4 o'clock hour, top of the 4 o'clock hour. I'll just tell you right now, we're doing the first segment. We're not going to bump Fitz for arm wrestling.
And then if one of you does something dumb, it can be in the "What is wrong with you" segment.
Yes, it can. Like if one of us, compound fracture of an arm. We'll each go on what is wrong with you. But that's something you have to look forward to. You guys made that happen. You got us to the subscriber number, so you guys made that happen, and we thank you for that. Now the next stretch goal is to get us to 900 YouTube subscribers. When I last checked, we were at 816. I want to say, yep, that's where we're at. So obviously 900 feels like a long way away, but 800 felt like a long way away once, and we got there, and now Brendan and I are going to arm wrestle each other. So when we get to 900, it's going to be 580 Sports Talk Karaoke, where we will at that point solicit songs from the listeners. We'll take a whole day or two worth of submissions. We'll throw them all in a hat. All 3 of us, myself, Brendan, and Spencer, will draw a song out of a hat, and we will sing that song on the show. We're going to have to figure out how we can do that with a backing track that won't get us DMCA'd and yanked off of YouTube forever. But hey, again, we got 84 subscribers to go. We got some time to figure out the legalities of all
I think I've got this. So on YouTube, there are a lot of instrumentals or karaoke versions that are blank made popular by.
Right. Yeah.
That's how they phrase it. That's how they get away with putting it on YouTube.
So, bars and places can do karaoke. That's probably what we'll do. A text from the 913 suggests that could make us lose subscribers, that we could go backwards, get further away from that number. No, it's all in the spirit of fun. And hey, you guys don't know. Maybe I have a good singing voice. Don't act like you weren't impressed when I sang the Olympic Roundup last summer.
I forgot about that.
I have the voice of an angel, damn it. No, we thank you guys for subscribing, for checking out the YouTube 580 Sports Talk, and well, this is a reward. This is our way of thanking you. We're going to do something silly for you guys on Wednesday's edition of the show. Still to come on this final hour of the program today, we got some final thoughts on the NFL and college football weekend. Haven't really dug into. We've been pretty focused on the local team, so we'll get into what else we saw, some other observations from NFL Week 2 and college football week number 3. Still do have some final thoughts on that Chiefs loss to the Eagles. Want to hear from you on the text line. 785-272-9429 is the number. 785-272-9429. Can also get at us again in those YouTube comments in the live chat. We'd love to hear from you in the live chat. The name of the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk, and the text line is 785-272-9429. For those who've only been listening to the show in the previous week, you are unfamiliar with us doing a 5 o'clock hour. We didn't do a 5 o'clock hour really last week. But typically in the 5 o'clock hour, we start things off with our 580 Sports Talk headlines, the news and notes that you need to know to be a more informed local and national sports fan. So let's jump into those 580 Sports Talk headlines. We begin with some Royals news. I was going to call it exciting Royals news, but your mileage may vary. You may no longer think that anything regarding a 75-75 baseball team that finds itself 6 games out of a playoff spot with 12 games to play is all that exciting. And frankly, I understand your point of view on that. But a must-win series, really a must-sweep series, coming up at the K Tuesday through Thursday against the suddenly red-hot Seattle Mariners. Have you seen this? Some random fan on social media paid a witch on Etsy to reverse jinx the Mariners, and since he did it, they haven't lost.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know anything about these witches on Etsy, but apparently they are extremely powerful. Some random dude posted on September 5th on X. I have paid an Etsy witch to unbleep the Mariners. Besties, help me manifest. There is he paid $20 for a spell, and the Mariners haven't lost since. So, so that's what the Royals are dealing with, their own difficulties and the power of the Etsy witch. But it's a must-sweep series coming up for the Royals. It's their last stand. It's their last home stand at the K, and they will have their full component of starting pitchers returning from injury to pitch this week. Michael Wacha returns from the concussion IL. He'll start tomorrow night. And then Cole Reagans, who had 2 rehab starts down at AAA before the minor league season came to a close, he will be activated from the injured list, and he will start Wednesday night for the Royals. Obviously, it's been a lost season for the Royals ace, who was dealing with some aches and pains, spent a brief stint on the injured list before then returning and then going on the injured list for even longer. It will be his first start since June 5th at St. Louis when Reagans takes them out on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, Seth Lugo back from the injured list to pitch on that getaway day, that afternoon game on Thursday. So it lines up the best it possibly can for the Royals in a series where they got to win all their games. They got on paper their 3 best starting pitchers. And all you can ask for this time of year is a chance. And the chance is fading, and the odds are ever dwindling. But you line up Wacha, Reagans, and Lugo, and you give it your best. And that's where the Royals will be when the Mariners come to town starting tomorrow night. More on that series on tomorrow's show. Next headline, Spencer.
Lots of NFL news and notes here when it comes to regarding injuries. I believe Matt Verderame said this when he was on when I asked him a question about the Bears. He said, he did mention this, but Bears cornerback Jalen Johnson is feared out for the season with a groin injury. A lot of injuries racked up this weekend, especially when it comes to quarterbacks. Joe Burrow to miss up to 3 months. Some reports, there's some reporting out there that the Bengals are in talks with the Giants about Jameis Winston. I haven't not seen too much, but I've seen something there.
They do not have an additional quarterback on their active roster. They have Brett Rippon on their practice squad. Jake Browning is going to start moving forward. Browning didn't play well, but won the game on Sunday
enough
against
to win
the
the game.
Jaguars. Did enough to win the game. Honestly, as backups go, you can do a lot worse, but the Bengals are going to need another quarterback. It is a turf toe injury. Burrow will need surgery. And again, all likelihood suggests that, 3 months, you're into December and that's functionally out for the season for Joe Burrow, which is
you were kind of the only hope for your team, right?
Yeah, it's just huge disappointment and really a bummer that Burrow's been the one guy in this talented group of elite quarterbacks who's missed significant time now. This will be the second season in the last 3 that he's missed significant time due to injury. Anyway, continue. I know you have some more injuries to tell us about.
Yes, one that a lot of people around here unfortunately don't want to hear. Cowboys center Cooper Beebe, obviously a key part of that Cowboys offensive line, expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks with a high ankle sprain. He has been officially placed on the IR, but he should be back for the second half of the season. A rash of quarterback injuries. I mentioned obviously Joe Burrow. Josh Allen, could have broken his nose, but he is set to play. I believe they play Thursday night. JJ McCarthy likely out this week, as is their running back, and
Aaron Jones.
I was going to say Jordan Mason, but he is the one that's playing. Aaron Jones is out as well for the Vikings, likely this week. Jaden Daniels' status in doubt with a knee injury for Sunday. I doubt he plays this week.
It's the Raiders they play, right?
Yes, they play the Raiders, and they kind of were rushing him back last year a little bit, but I think they've changed their stance on injuries, and quite frankly, I think Marcus Mariota has played well enough for them as to be able to play a game or two if needed.
So Mariota's the backup there in Washington and would play if Daniels can't go. Carson Wentz is the backup in Minnesota, and he will step in for McCarthy, who's been ruled out 2 to 4 weeks. I guess you would say he's going to miss 2 to 4 weeks. I don't believe it has happened in NFL history for a quarterback to start a game for 6 different teams in as many years. But that's what Carson Wentz is looking at, if you can believe it. 2020, Philadelphia. 2021, Indianapolis. 2022, Washington. 2023, the Rams. And yes, he did start a game, of course, week 18 for the Chiefs last year. So, it's one thing to show up on a bunch of different teams, but to start games for 6 different teams in a 6-year stretch, that I believe to be unprecedented. That is something else for Carson Wentz. There was a theory being floated out there because McCarthy was bad last night. I don't know how much of the Sunday Night Football game you got to watch. He stunk out the joint. It was not like, well, he was lousy against the Bears, but he made some things happen in the second half, and his team got rolling and they won. Now, he just stunk it out for 4 quarters. And so it's 3 of the 4 halves of his NFL career, he's been flat out lousy. So there's a theory out there that this is more of a soft benching for McCarthy, that, the injury when it happened didn't look like it was that bad, and he returned to the game and he played through it and everything. So the theory out there is they are already having a little bit buyer's remorse on McCarthy. They can have Sam Darnold back. He threw 2 picks yesterday. He stinks. I know the Seahawks won, but he still stinks. But
it's not a big contract.
He's on a big contract. Morons. Anyway, but there is a theory out there that this is like, okay, we need to press pause on this and, maybe have him learn from the sideline for a couple more weeks and, go through some practice reps and back off of him for a little bit of time. I don't know how true that is, but he'll have 2 to 4 weeks, it sounds like, to watch Carson Wentz play.
Was it you or was it Brendan very high on JJ McCarthy this year?
So I don't think either of us were like super high on JJ McCarthy to the point that you might be suggesting. I thought that he could make it work in Kevin O'Connell's offense. Like, I guess that by that definition, I believed that he could have success. I think that's different from saying I was high on him, but I believed that success was possible for JJ McCarthy. Early returns have not been very good.
I had him ranked 27th in my 32.
I think we both had him like 20th, the 21st, 22nd. So we were like, if that's high, then we're high on a lot of guys. So, but I did think that in that offense, in that infrastructure, that got Sam Darnold a $50 million contract from somebody. I thought he had the tools to maybe be successful. It hasn't clicked yet. He also didn't play any football last year, and maybe he's still knocking off some ring rust. That's the optimistic reading of things there in Minnesota. Next headline, let's get you the kickoff times for 2 Saturdays from now, as the Big 12 has announced game times for the games of Saturday, September 27th. Both K-State and KU will play at the same time, and that is early. K-State's game against UCF, the conference home opener for the Wildcats, will be an 11 a.m. kickoff. That game will be broadcast on FS1. KU's home game against Cincinnati will be an 11 a.m. kick as well. That will air on TNT and also HBO Max. If you're subscribed to that, I believe you'll be able to watch it on Max. So, no, HBO Max. I'm sorry. They changed it back. That's my fault. I'm sorry.
It's been changed so many times.
It has.
It's okay.
So, KU and Cincinnati on TNT with an 11 a.m. kickoff. Both those are home games for K-State and for KU. Other game times, 2 Saturdays from today in league play. Utah at West Virginia will be a 2:30 kickoff on Big Fox. Baylor at Oklahoma State, 2:30 on ESPN2. Arizona, Iowa State, 6 p.m. ESPN. BYU at Colorado, late night. Big 12 after dark at Colorado at 9:15. Also that week, TCU and Arizona State play Friday night on Big Fox. That game in Tempe. And Houston is at Oregon State on Friday night. So there's a couple of Friday night Big 12 After Dark games for you in 2 weeks. But K-State and KU, both in the 11 a.m. window. I know we've had this conversation before. What, in your mind, is the best window for college football games? Because I think for covering a game, my preference is the 11 a.m. kick.
I'd say 11 a.m. kick, or what is it, 2:30 here?
See, I would rather not have the midday kick, because then you miss the second half of the early games and you miss a bunch of the primetime game because you're doing your job, right?
I guess you'd be right there.
So for me, for somebody who likes to watch like the buffet, the smorgasbord of college football, I like getting the game out done early. I know it's certainly not ideal for like tailgating purposes, for imbibing purposes before the game. Although that's only an obstacle in your brain if you get up and do it early enough.
Hey, if you get up,
no rule that says you can't start drinking at 6 a.m.
You could get up, start drinking, have some breakfast beers with some breakfast sausage and eggs and bacon.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, do that as your tailgate instead of burgers and dogs.
Exactly. So breakfast burritos maybe at the tailgate. Get some eggs on that flat top grill there. Absolutely. Anyway, K-State, KU, 11 a.m. kicks, 2 Saturdays from now. KU against West Virginia, of course, kicks off 5 o'clock this Saturday while K-State is off. Next headline, Spencer.
Yeah, top 25 coming out from the AP. We'll run you through the top 10 and then any significant after that. Ohio State stays number 1, with Penn State staying number 2 and LSU staying number 3. But we got some movement for 4 through 10. Miami moves up from number 5 to number 4. Georgia moves up 1 spot to number 5. Oregon falls from number 4 to number 6. Florida State moves up 3 to number 7. Texas drops 1 to number 8. Illinois stays the same at number 9 and 10. Texas A&M makes the big jump, jumping from 16 to 10. Big 12 teams in there. You got Iowa State moving up from 14th to 12th. Utah sitting at 16th, moving up from 20. Texas Tech moves up from 21 to 17. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Interesting note, Notre Dame still in the top 25 at 0-2, sitting at number 24.
So they are the first team to stay in the rankings after an 0-2 start since 1984.
Yeah.
Auburn pulled the trick, or Notre Dame losing by a point at home to the number 10 team in the country after previously having lost to the number 4 team in the country. So I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But also,
it's just weird to see 0-2.
If they weren't capital N Norder, capital D Dame, it's probably that team would not be ranked, even with that resume. Mizzou up 2 spots, number 23. New to the poll this week, Georgia Tech, the Bees. Love Georgia Tech. Love watching them play. Love their coach. I'm a big fan of that program right now. They're up at 18. Vanderbilt's in the poll. The Fighting Diego Pavias are number 20 in the country after they beat South Carolina. And USC into the poll, 3-0 at number 25. Doing it with defense. I know. A Lincoln Riley team doing it with defense. I can't believe it either. So we got 3 ranked matchups for this coming Saturday in college football, including the Texas Tech Utah game. Big noon kickoff's going to be there.
Yeah.
It's going to be the big noon Saturday game, which means it is a 10 a.m. Mountain Time kickoff in Salt Lake City.
That sucks.
Yeah, look, I understand Fox wanted a TV window all to itself. I get it. I understand why they're paying big money for the privilege, and the conferences aren't going to turn down that money. But man, 10 a.m. kicks that's rough. That's not ideal for either of those teams.
Well, it'd be a 9 a.m. kick if they went to L.A.
Yeah, like if they had they'll never put I know they got a Big Ten deal, but they're not going out to USC and put one of those games on Big Noon. There's no way. They wouldn't have bought it. They wouldn't have bought a 9 a.m. kickoff. Although maybe they don't have a choice. I don't know. I don't know what's in the contracts. Anyway, but it's a big spotlight game for the Big 12, their first big spotlight game of the year. For the record, Utah had some difficulties with Wyoming. They ended up blowing them out, but that was a 3-0 game at halftime. There is a long list of teams you don't want to play in the non-conference. Service academies, teams from the Dakotas. Hint, hint, Gene Taylor. But Wyoming is another one of those, especially on the road. Don't go to Laramie. you don't do it. Don't do it. Not worth it. Not worth it. Also, ranked matchups this coming week. Auburn at Oklahoma is a top 25 matchup. So too Illinois at Indiana. Indiana at number 19. Illinois into the top 10 at number 9. We'll wrap up these headlines with the winner's circle. The first round of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs is in the books with a Christopher Bell victory at Bristol. Joe Gibbs Racing sweeping the first round victories in the playoffs. The 4 drivers eliminated as the playoff field is paired from 16 drivers to 12. Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon, our guy SVG, and Josh Berry. Better luck next year. They had a PGA Tour event this weekend that I totally missed, but Scotty Scheffler won it. That's 15 consecutive PGA events that Scotty Scheffler has played in and finished at least in the top 8, winning 6 of them. He's a machine. Also, the big boxing match on Netflix Saturday night that I don't think got started until midnight Central Time.
I didn't watch. I'll tell you that.
No, I didn't. I'm not a fight guy. I know we had some people. I know my guy Andrew in the YouTube comments was really excited about it on Friday and said he made some money on it. Shout out to Andrew. I know we got some fight fans who watch the show, listen to the show here. I'm not. I'm just not. It's never been a sport that appeals to me. Any of the subsets, boxing, combat sports. I'm just out. It's not for me. I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum, but it's not for me. And certainly not if I got to stay up until 1 a.m. To see the fight. But apparently it was a good fight. Bud Crawford, Pride of Omaha, beat Canelo Alvarez by unanimous decision to win the fight. And I don't know what the streaming numbers were on Netflix, but man, don't start a major sporting event at 1 a.m. Eastern time. That's such disregard for your fans. Like, that is just blatant disregard for your fans at that point. Anyway, but like blatant disregard for the fans is kind of like the whole thing with combat sports.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're going to start when we want to start. Screw you. You paid for it.
Hey, we're going to start this thing at 7, but what really matters comes up at like 11:30.
Yeah, exactly. If that, with all of the, ringside interviews and the introductions and the pomp and the circumstance, we'll get to it when we get to it. When will that be? Screw you. We don't have to tell you. Anyway, those are your headlines. We'll come back, talk more about the weekend that was in football on 580 Sports Talk. 5:33 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. In a bit, we'll have some final thoughts on that Chiefs loss from Sunday. Chiefs 0-2, first time in the Mahomes era. But there's a lot of other football this weekend that we really haven't quite gotten around to yet. We'll start in college football. I guess this is my big question through the first 4 weeks or 3 weeks plus week 0 of college football. Are there any good quarterbacks? Because
that's a great question.
All the quarterbacks that were hyped to high heaven going into this season have, I shouldn't say all, but most have not lived up to the hype. Arch Manning is either hurt or he stinks. And maybe he's hurt. There are people watching the film saying, yeah, his arm slot doesn't look right. Like he's trying to protect an injury when he's throwing the ball. I hope he's hurt for his own sake. Otherwise, he's not good at playing quarterback. Maybe we didn't really consider that, hey, it was his uncles that were good at quarterbacking. His dad was a wide receiver and then got hurt, didn't really play college football. But his uncles were the quarterbacks in the family, not him. Maybe we should have put more stock into that. I don't know. But Arch Manning's either hurt or he stinks. DJ Lagway at Florida, he threw himself 5 picks in Florida's 20-10 loss to LSU.
Jeez.
Yeah, man, that was they were bad too. They were really bad. Cade Klubnik at Clemson, he's 1-2 on the season.
Yeah.
They lost to Georgia Tech.
I turned that game on the last few minutes, and I was like, wow.
Man, Georgia Tech executed that last-second fire drill to get their field goal unit on the field for a 55-yarder, and they did it so flawlessly that they had time to stand around and kind of wait. They got everybody on the field so fast.
That's so impressive.
They're engineers, man. They're smart guys, right? And they got out there and they had time to chill, check for wind shear, and then my guy drilled it 55 yards. Even the college kickers are too good these days. And Georgia Tech got the big win over Clemson. Brett Pry at Georgia Tech is 7-1 against ranked teams. Wow. If he wants a bigger coaching job, there's going to be one available to him. Anyway, Cade Klubnik, though, 1-2. He alternated between brilliance and frustration, which has been the story of his career. Avery Johnson's 1-3. Lenora Sellers got hurt. South Carolina lost to Vanderbilt. A lot of the quarterbacks who came into this year and we thought, oh, these guys are going to be, your Heisman front runners.
I mean, Brent Key. You were
Brent Key.
Yes.
Brent Key.
You screwed up the one that got fired versus the one that won the game in a great way.
Brent Key is the coach
for the
Georgia
Yellow
Tech. Brent Pry doesn't have a key to his office anymore at Virginia Tech because he got fired
after they paid $400,000 for Old Dominion to beat them.
They were down 28-0 in that game, I think, at halftime.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be. I thought this was going to be the game where they said, you know what, we're going to be relevant-ish for a year. I put it in my picks. So no way you lose to Old Dominion at home.
So Virginia Tech needs a new coach. It has not worked for any of the coaches post Frank Beamer. UCLA also fired their coach, Deshaun Foster, after they got run off the field by New Mexico on Friday night.
I can tell you who's going to be the next head coach for the Virginia Tech Hokies.
You think it's going to be your guy Charles Huff?
I think if they have a good season, he was waiting. Virginia Tech could have fired Brent. Now I'm going to screw it up. Brent Pry. Last year, he was waiting for it, and then he said, "Oh, I got to go to Southern Miss."
My lean is that it's going to be Bob Chesney. If I had to guess, it'd be Bob Chesney, who's at James Madison right now.
Yeah,
I think it'd be Bob Chesney.
I would give you either of those two.
So I think they'll go the group of 6 route to hire a coach. I have no idea what UCLA is going to do.
The problem at Virginia Tech is they still have enough money.
That's true.
You gotta find some money.
Would they think about Jimbo Fisher?
I don't know. There's 3 wild card names in here that sound wild. Jimbo Fisher.
You don't have to pay Jimbo a lot because he's still making that Texas A&M money.
Gruden.
I can't believe anybody would do that. Honest to God.
There's 3 weird wild, and then Mike Vick. Well, if he has a good season.
So Vic's been a college coach for 10 minutes.
If he's got a good season.
Yeah, if they go 8-3 at Norfolk State, there are going to be people definitely be interested in
that. And I think he'll bring some money. Yeah. I think he can. I mean, we saw, not saying they're the same person at any caliber, but we've seen what Prime's done to Colorado, younger-ish, but like a player,
Mm-hmm.
like a very well-known player coming in, being your head coach. But different stance because he coached for a while.
Does Michael Vick have any children who are exceptionally good at football? That I think we have gotten to the point in the Coach Prime experience where like that was why it worked to whatever extent that it worked, because they look miserable in that game against Houston.
Oh, he does. He's got 3 kids.
Are any of them Travis Hunter good?
I don't know if he has any.
Anyway, let's move to the NFL, the weekend that was in the NFL. The game that jumped out to me was Broncos Colts.
Yeah.
That's the one. The Colts won the game in very funny fashion. In case you missed it, they played for a long field goal to try to win the game, down by 2 points. They ended up having to try a 60-yard field goal, and Spencer Schrader missed it, but the Broncos were called for a leverage penalty. In case you do not know the penalty, because you so infrequently see it, you can't push on the long snapper.
Yeah.
You cannot get your hand on top of the back of the long snapper to give yourself leverage. And by the book, it was 1,000% the right call. It's exactly what that Broncos player did.
A lot of the times now you don't even have a guy line up over the center.
So that's what happened. It moved the kick closer 15 yards because it's a personal foul penalty, and they got the untimed down, and Schrader made the kick, and the Colts ended up beating the Broncos. But the whole thing with the Broncos was supposed to be they were going to have this undeniable defense, and they gave up 316 passing yards to Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what to make of the Broncos through 2 games. They certainly do not look like the team that is going to snatch the AFC West crown. They look like reports of their ascension might have been greatly exaggerated. There was a lot of really messy football on Sunday, to be completely honest. The Jets and the Steelers both affirmed what I kind of thought about their week 1 game against each other, was that was a weird one-off, and we shouldn't expect either of those teams to actually be good. The Jets got mollywopped by the Bills. The Steelers lost to the Seahawks. Ravens killed the Browns. Not a surprise there.
No.
Mac Jones, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. 49ers beat the Saints 26-21.
Look,
I hate to say I told you so.
Yeah, but now that I thought about it, you put Mac Jones in a Kyle Shanahan offense, like anybody that has any relevance, anything left, you put him in a Kyle Shanahan run offense, I think it might just be a good offense for Mac Jones to run.
He's got better wide receivers. He's got an offensive coordinator with a clue. Yeah, like it's not a surprise that he looked better than he did when Matt Patricia was calling offensive plays in New England. And again, the Saints just aren't a particularly good team. They made it close there at the end. But the other exclamation point game this weekend was the Lions putting 52 points on the Bears. They appeared to take that extremely personally in a way that was a little kind of took me aback a little bit, how much it seemed like they wanted to put it on Ben Johnson specifically. It felt personal.
I don't know, but they kept scoring. They went for it on a 4th down and goal. And Ben was like, no, that's just what he does. He never kicks a field goal.
They said all the right things after the game, but you don't put 50 on somebody in the NFL if you don't want to put 50 on somebody. That felt like if there were really as much respect there, I don't know what the motivation would have been for the Lions to do that to Ben Johnson, but they put up 52 points. The Bears look like a disaster unfolding in real time. They've lost their best defensive player, Jalen Johnson, probably for the rest of the season. And Caleb Williams, again, I will stand here and I will defend the ability, the physical gifts of Caleb Williams. But there are a lot of guys who are physically gifted athletes who can throw the ball really far and aren't good NFL quarterbacks. And, man, we're getting close. We're getting close to being able to say some definitive things about Caleb Williams that are not particularly flattering.
That's why I asked Matt about it earlier, because I think his growth has been stunted as a player by having too many playbooks, too many offensive coordinators, too much change over time. And that's just unfortunate for him, because obviously a number 1 overall pick. And as a Commander fan looking back on it, thanking the Lord they didn't draft Jaden Daniels. I don't know what situation they'd be in if they did, and where the Commanders would be if they had to draft Caleb. I don't know.
One last thing to comment on. We mentioned it in the headlines. Joe Burrow likely out at least 3 months for the Bengals with a turf toe injury. Bengals were able to rally and beat the Jaguars anyway, 31-27, despite backup Jake Browning, like in the box score, not having the best of days, throwing 3 interceptions, but he also threw 2 touchdowns, including the winner. Cincinnati's 2-0, which is a departure, right? Like they've always been the team that's slow out of the gate.
Yeah.
They're the team that goes 0-2 and find ways to make the playoffs. They're 2-0, but no Joe Burrow. They got to play the Vikings in that defense next week. Then they got to go play the Broncos the week after that on Monday Night Football. Then they have the Lions. Then they have the Packers, who look like maybe they're the best team in the NFL through 2 weeks. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better for the Bengals. And I tend to agree with our NFL insider, Matt Verderame. You could stick a fork in Cincinnati. I know they're 2-0. I know that Pittsburgh and Cleveland are probably not going to be good, so they're still going to have a chance to pick up some wins in the AFC North. But forget about it. Them doing anything without Burrow, forget it. It's not. He's a good backup, Jake Browning, but there's a reason good backups are backups. So I think that's a team that's in a lot of trouble. We'll take a time out here at 580 Sports Talk. We'll come back. Some final thoughts on that Chiefs defeat yesterday from Arrowhead on 580 WIBW. So the Chiefs are 0-2. And we all know the numbers. We all know the history. In case you're unfamiliar, even since the playoffs expanded, the odds are not kind to teams that drop to 0-2. Only 11 of the 42 teams who have started 0-2 since 2020 have gone on to make the playoffs. 3 of those 11 were last year. And only 2 teams since the league expanded have ever earned their conference's top seed in the playoffs after an 0-2 start. You realize that being the standard means that you're incredibly spoiled, that your standards are incredibly high as an organization. But there are a lot of things that this Chiefs team has been able to take for granted a little bit that are going to be a lot harder to achieve and make the navigation of the season a little bit different, a little bit more difficult. This has been a team that has been able to assume fairly, we're going to win the West. We're gonna at the very least play at home in the first round, and we'll probably end up getting the number 1 seed, and we'll be able to have that bye and give some of our veteran players that extra rest. We don't have to play anybody in week 18 because we're not worried about a seed. We're not worried about anything like that. So you get a week off, maybe 2 at the end of the year. You've taken those things for granted. Things all still happen. There's a lot of football left to be played, but they feel like the fait accompli that they have felt like for so many years. I want to go back to one play in particular from that game. It's the 4th down decision on the Chiefs' first drive of the second half. They have a 4th and 1. They go for it. They come out in the damn T formation. They're the 1927 Chicago Bears. And they run power sweep with slow-ass Kareem Hunt.
Yes.
And the Eagles blow it up. Like, they out-schemed and outfit the Chiefs on the play. Like, Nolan Smith just completely obliterates the play. He penetrates and makes it so Creed Humphrey can't even get downhill to set the block to allow Kareem Hunt to get to the outside and turn the corner. But 2 things there. Number 1, it's an unnecessarily convoluted play call against a defense that is beating your offense at the line of scrimmage with a running back who's not exactly the most fleet of foot. Just do what they did later in the game on the drive that could have ended in the Kelsey touchdown had he not volleyball bumped it into the hands of Andrew Makuba. They went for that 4th and 1. They just handed it off to Kareem Hunt inside.
Yeah.
And said, let's just get a quick push and get a yard. And they got it. The Chiefs are generally pretty good at that. They've been fairly good at getting a yard when they just run it straight ahead instead of getting cute. They could also, try quarterback sneaking. And if Mahomes is going to run around all over the place and he's going to duck his shoulder into defenders, then at this point, why not just call the quarterback sneak with him, Andy? Just let him sneak the ball. For God's sake, it's getting ridiculous. They haven't run a sneak since 2018. It's the dumbest thing in the world at this point. Anyhow. But the other thing about that play, and the thing that'll kind of sit with me about that game, is that's a decision that teams have been making against the Chiefs for years. That decision that, okay, it's early in the third quarter and the game is tied and we got a 4th and short, but possession is really valuable to us because we don't want to give the ball to those other guys because we know our margin for error is really slim. We got to make sure we keep the ball. We got to play like the underdog, in short. That's an underdog play. That's an underdog decision. That's an underdog level of aggressiveness that we haven't seen the Chiefs display a whole lot in recent years because they haven't been the underdog. They were the underdog in a literal sense, in a Las Vegas odds on the board sense in that game against the Eagles. It was just jarring to see the Chiefs act like the underdog because I'm not used to that. I know you aren't either watching this team. And I think it says a lot about how Andy Reid perceived his team vis-a-vis those Eagles, that they felt like they had to go for it in that spot. And I don't think they would have gone for it against a lot of teams. And I don't think past iterations of the Chiefs would have gone for it against a team even as good as these Eagles. But they went for it there. They called a dumbass play, and they didn't get it. And it becomes just another data point. The small margins, the 3 or 4 plays that are standing right now between the Chiefs and a totally okay and understandable 1-1 start and an 0-2 start that makes it feel like the sky's falling. We'll take one last break. We will come back with a final word and wrap up 580 Sports Talk next. Final word time on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, why don't you start us?
Yeah, I think there's no reason to freak out if you're a Chiefs or a Chiefs fan starting 0-2. Everything you need to build on is right in front of you. It's not like you're great at everything and you're just losing when it comes to the end of the game. Like, you need to figure out your running back situation. Brett Veach, what are you going to do? Are you going to find somebody out there, make a trade, or what? I mean, you got the receivers coming back eventually, and then maybe things will get better there. Defensively, you really got to be proud of what Noah Williams what he put on tape over the weekend on Sunday, stepping in for Christian Fulton, really. And Christian Fulton, what's the injury deal with him? Because he's an often injured guy. How is that going to affect him for the rest of the year?
Final word for me today. I will leave this non-Victory Monday with as much optimism as I can muster, because that's my nature. I tend to try to stay on the sunny side if I can. I tend toward optimism other than pessimism. I believe in the old adage that the pessimist feels everything twice. Once when they convince themselves the bad thing is going to happen, and then another time when the bad thing actually does happen. I would rather personally feel things once. So I try to tend away from pessimism and towards optimism, and I will be as optimistic as I am able to be regarding the Chiefs and the Kansas State Wildcats, both of whom are in a bad way right about now. For the Chiefs, I do think that when Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy return to this offense, you will see it, maybe not return all the way to those late 2010s, early 2020s Chiefs offense bang zoom glory days, but you will certainly see a more efficient and a more explosive Chiefs passing game to minimize the fact that they don't have much of a running game to speak of. I don't know that they fix every last thing, but Rice and Worthy are going to fix quite a bit. And they're certainly going to make it so teams can't just blitz Mahomes like the Eagles did with impunity. For K-State, they've got an off week to settle themselves, to try and figure out who they are, to do some real soul searching. And then they play a UCF team that they should be able to beat at home. And if they can get a win and get the monkey off their back, maybe they can turn the second half of their season into something. But they feel a long way from that right now after that dismal showing and that 1-3 start. We're done. Chiefs Kingdom is next. We're back tomorrow from 3 to 6. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.